There we go. This is the January 23rd meeting of the HPB, and I'd like a motion to call this meeting to order.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it. Not second it?
Yeah. Yeah, well, we're good.
I thought I heard a second down the way.
Okay, Member Searle?
Yes.
Member Evans?
Yes.
Member Olson?
Yes.
Member Dabrowski?
Aye.
Chair Pollak?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, very good. Before we start, does anybody have any reason to recuse themselves for the issues before us tonight?
No.
Member Evans, I do not.
No from here? Okay, it's unanimous. Okay. I'd like to start our business with number 18 Green Hill Lane, the fence. Please come forward.
Come forward.
Tell us about your project. You've got a very good photographs in here. A lot of detail. We appreciate that.
Yep. So I already have 2 corner fences that were already okayed by the village. Everything's already marked. I have 2 golden retrievers that need to be enclosed. That's about it.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I have a letter from my neighbor if you wanted to see that they're fine with it.
Okay, yeah.
It's the same. It's going to look the exact same as the 2 fences that already exist. Most of the other, like in Village Grove, all the other neighbors have the same style. We've all kind of gone with the same dog ear, whatever.
Okay.
It's pretty straightforward.
Good. And this is where the good side faces outward, or the way it's designed, or is it two-sided?
It's both.
The board shows
It's
board
the
on
same.
board.
Okay.
It's board on board, dog
So it
ear.
alternates.
Oh,
What's
I
the
have
same on
a
both
picture of
sides?
it. It's right here.
Yep,
So,
okay.
Same one I have in my backyard.
yeah, it's just, it's right here. It's just, you can't have a bad side. That's the nice part of
Yeah,
it.
got it,
That's
got
it.
it.
That's a nice action.
Yeah,
Yep,
so,
very good.
and that's what everybody in that area does, so that when they butt next to each other, they look the same.
Good, okay. Start with some questions.
I have no questions.
No
I thought the
questions?
application was very clear and complete.
I concur.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yes?
Yeah, my only question was, and this is completely just interest, but the bump out, that 2-foot bump out,
That's
is that
to
just to
save,
keep trees?
that's
in
to
there?
save the arborvitae.
Nice.
Yeah, it's just, I felt guilty even shearing it up to 6 feet, but
Yeah.
I have to do some, otherwise it's gonna come way in, it's gonna look really weird. But
Yeah.
anyway, so I sheared it, had everything sheared up about 6 feet, and then it's literally just gonna be a bump out.
Nice.
And there will be a little gate there, that might not be right there. I asked that they put a little gate there too, because my neighbors don't mind that I go through.
What does the gate look like? I'm not sure there
It
was.
doesn't look like anything, it looks like a.
I imagine it's going to be a cutout of a section.
Yeah,
Oh,
It's going to look just like a fence?
okay.
That's fine.
there's no, I mean, there's no look to it. You
Okay.
close it
Well,
and
there
it's,
is. It's
well, I mean, you know what I'm saying. I mean,
nothing
I'm an artist.
special about the
There's
gate.
nothing special about the gate, it's gonna look like the fence.
Okay.
Since we don't have any questions, I guess we can put this to a vote. Somebody like to make a motion to approve this fence?
I'll move that at this January 23rd meeting of the Historic Preservation Board, that we accept the application for fence installation at 18 Green Hill Lane as provided.
Okay, very good. I second that. Okay. Chris? You're the fence man. So.
Member Searle?
Yes.
Member Evans?
Yes.
Member Olson?
Yes.
Member Dabrowski?
Yes.
Chair Pollak?
Yes.
Motion passes. Can I have findings of fact, please?
Findings of fact are that it meets the design guidelines laid forth by the Village of Pittsburgh with regard to fences.
I'm sorry, I don't even know what that means. Or-
Well,
The reason why we said yes.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that,
and
Kendra.
I do want to say you did a very good application.
It was
Some of these
wonderful.
are really,
Thanks, I wanted it to go through, so I just made sure.
I
okay.
would like to add to the findings that this is reversible and has no negative impact on the resource.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful night.
You too.
Okay, we're ready for another round of thirsties.
Intended.
I have to tell you, I particularly appreciate this photo of the State Street Men's Club.
Yes.
The phone number for Thirsties was only known to certain individuals, and certainly my husband would give it to them.
Oh, yes.
Oh, boy.
It was to limit the calls before cell phones
Yeah.
and locating people.
So this is a dramatically
Down on the
improved
panel, the bartender and say
establishment.
who?
Yeah, the poor bartender probably lost income. When he didn't have to make up stories about.
There was a payphone if somebody wanted to call out.
Oh, my God.
That wasn't the point. The wives wanted to know where the heck.
Well, spouse or significant other, it wasn't always, you know.
Sometimes wives go thirsty.
That's right,
Just put
that's
that out
right.
there.
So you now have windows that are what, 6/1?
That's
Now
right.
Yeah, that are all wood for those three that are in the top.
Well, let's back up. I ended up here because I
Put in the,
wrongly substituted windows,
Yeah,
which put me here to request the correct windows, which would be the wooden ones, which
yeah. And you, I think,
is what I submitted.
yeah. And I see those dimensions are match
Correct.
spaces. Okay. All right. Questions?
It is 6/1, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because my drawing that I submitted,
right,
I
that
think
one.
was not accurate, right?
Yeah.
It was 6 over, right,
Well, this is 9/9.
so that's incorrect.
Yeah, but we stated that at the first meeting that was, yeah.
There was an
Just a
extra piece of
drawing.
paper in there. Yeah.
Are these insulated glass?
We can only go by the quote. I don't know a lot about the windows.
That's what I'm looking at here.
Should it be?
Low
No, I-
E2 with argon.
Yes, so that's a double pane, which means the muntins are significantly wider than the original muntins because the double pane glass is heavy enough that it can't be supported by the narrower muntins.
Right.
Just so y'all understand.
Yeah.
But these are simulated, 7/8" simulated divided lights with spacer bar,
Mhm.
which makes me think maybe the bar is applied on the outside and the spacer bar is in between the two panes of glass. Do you have any
So,
knowledge or understanding of what I'm talking about?
no, not necessarily. Are you saying that I'll call the slats, right, are to be on the exterior of the window?
The muntins. If you look at this May 2010, I thought that was the image that showed I
Yeah,
mean, you can barely see the muntins.
Barely.
The first photograph, it's the same from 2010, but the light is, maybe it's because you're
I think the
closer.
applicant would like to know what muntins are.
The muntins are the dividers
cross
here.
hatches.
Oh, right,
Yes,
right, dividers, right.
They're the muntins are the pieces of wood that hold the individual panes of glass.
Yes,
The upper sash in the original windows were 6 individual panes of glass.
Okay.
Why that sort of thing is important, just for your information, is that one way you can put an approximate date on an historic window is the size of the glass panes in the window.
Okay,
The old Lusk farmhouse, which now has completely modern replacement windows. The original windows were worked on by the homeowner and destroyed and could no longer hold together. But they were 16 over 16.
okay,
So there were four rows down, 4 rows across, of little tiny panels, and that's because they didn't make plate glass. It
Sure.
was when glass, yeah, it ended up being smaller because they couldn't make larger pieces. So for us as preservationists, that the distinction and the size and configuration of the muntins, M-U-N-T-I-N-S, is important.
okay.
That's why I'm asking and bringing it up. Because if these are applied, if the spacer bar is applied, 7/8 of an inch seems larger. 7/8 of an inch is almost an inch. I think my muntins are 5/8 or 3/4 maybe on my 6/1s. But these are new windows. I understand the need for energy efficiency. I don't object to that at all. I just wonder if the spacer bar is applied to the outside rather than And I'm sure that is, because a double pane window, they're not going to do double, 6
Yeah.
separate little pieces.
For some reason, when I read that information that's supplied, I thought it made that distinguish whether it was interior or
Well, it says
exterior. Excuse me.
black perimeter and spacer bar. Now, I'm not sure exactly what they mean by a spacer bar, but, and then down, next line down says 7/8 inch SDL. SDL is simulated divided light with spacer bar, which again makes me think it's in between the two panes of glass.
Would you like me to go back and have them?
No, I don't.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it would be better. I think it would be more appropriate if that spacer bar was smaller, but at this point, I'm not gonna hold up the process. You can ask them if they can provide us a narrower spacer bar, more traditionally sized spacer bar, but, if you're gonna get, I know Rochester Colonial, I've toured there.
It might be worth a
Sometimes.
question, might be worth a question to them, because,
Do we have that recommendation anywhere public on our website, or could we? It's not the question that I
I'm
think.
sorry?
The idea about this appropriate size for the spacer bar. I feel like that's not the kind of thing that the average homeowner, or even someone that's.
No, but I believe that it's in our guidelines on in the section on windows.
I just wonder if we could pull that out in a way that makes it just more user-friendly, is what I was getting at.
yeah.
Well, you'll have to look at the guidelines.
Would you just repeat one more time what the question specifically?
The first question is, the way I am reading their quote sheet, it says 7/8 inch SDL dash with spacer bar. Black is the color, yes, fine. My question is that
Can it be thin?
is the simulated muntin only between the two panes of glass? Is it applied to the exterior pane of glass with nothing in between the glass?
Or it could be on the interior.
Or it could be all three. You wouldn't put the spacers on the inside, because on the inside, you want to be able to wash the whole window.
We just pull them off.
They're like that in my
I actually
prefab
have
house.
that
I have that
too.
Well,
too.
if they're,
Don't think less of me, but.
no. I think the newer ones that are more durable maybe are not removable. I understand on the
Yeah.
inside they have pins, but personally, I don't care if they're on the
Yeah.
inside. I care about the outside.
Yeah.
So if that 7/8 inch SDL piece is attached to the outside, which in our case, I believe that's what our guidelines would require. I'm sorry, I didn't bring my guidelines tonight.
Okay. We'll find that out.
That if it is applied to the outside, can it be narrower to more accurately reflect a traditional wood muntin? And if the person you're dealing with at Rochester Colonial Hills, who are you dealing with?
Yeah, they'd be able to tell you that. Yeah,
His name's
Brown?
Chris Brown.
yeah. Yeah,
Oh, this is the code.
okay, it may be a cost difference, I don't know.
So here's a cut up, if you want to look at it.
Yes.
From the guidelines, page 50 of our guidelines. The top picture is ideal. The bottom picture, I would just read off the bottom picture. It says that the muntins are on the inside.
Okay.
I can make
Right,
a
so
copy of
there's-
that for you.
Sure. that'd be great.
So it would be a full pane of glass on the outside that you don't want.
Okay.
That's all we want to make sure is that
I thought we've made that a condition of the approval.
a conditionary approval,
Condition of the
a
approval.
condition of the approval, correct?
So we can get it that way, the board shows.
Okay. Any more discussion on this replacement? We got the other issue. Anybody else?
No, my only question is to make sure that SDL is on the outside.
Those are really narrow muntins.
Yeah, they're on the outside there.
Well, of course they are.
Yeah.
Because it's
So if you were to give
it's
a-
only a single pane glass.
If you were to give a measurement, like what measurement would you design?
You know what?
If we're talking about 7/8 here.
Rochester Colonial is very familiar with traditional size muntins. I believe they can special make for you traditional single pane.
Sure.
They don't like to do it because that's not what they like to do, but I'm sure they know. I'm sure they have knives for cutting all the pieces at all.
Yeah, that bottom description is all we're really worried about, of that bottom description picture.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, we can,
So we can make a motion
yeah, we can make
to
a motion.
approve, so long as the muntins are traditionally sized and they will be on the exterior of the windows. That's the amendment that we're looking to add to the
Yeah,
application.
and if that is the case,
presented.
then the,
Doesn't come back,
yeah,
yeah.
right.
Now, does anybody want to look at these when they come in after they go through?
Building inspector.
I'm happy
Yeah.
to like show them off before I put them in, assuming, you know.
Just get with Steve.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
May do a site inspection
Yeah,
officially.
Exactly.
Yes, I think that would be,
Yeah,
you know, important to do that. Team
we're
building.
thirsty now, but, okay.
Fair enough.
Isn't it like taking a bribe?
Yeah.
Not at all. No, I would charge.
We
you.
haven't voted yet. So I'll make a motion at this Historic Preservation Board meeting on January 23rd to approve the application for replacement wood windows at 8 State Street as presented, along with the amendment that the muntins be traditionally sized and be on the outside of the glass.
And making the assumption that they can do that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
This issue is not new news to them, by the way.
I'm sure it's not. That's fine.
Member Dabrowski?
Aye.
Member Searle? Member Evans?
Yes.
Member Olson?
Yes.
Chair Pollak?
Yes,
Motion carries.
okay.
Excellent.
We got that now. For information only, we have approval
Findings
on
of
it.
fact, please.
Oh, finding of facts first, yes, and I think it does, the finding of facts are found in the design guidelines for double hung windows. I don't know what page it is, but.
Yeah, the proposed windows are appropriate replacements with the muntins being on the outside and correctly sized. And the profile is matching the windows that are being replaced.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, tell us about the
So now,
pergola now.
Say it again.
Wait, that's just information.
I was just like,
Yeah.
they're not here.
Wait.
You're putting it in the back patio area?
Yes, that's the idea, yes.
Yep.
And before we get going, maybe Jeff, you want to explain what needs to happen next? I mean,
Yeah,
this is information only.
For information only because Mr. Clifford has to get a special permit to do it, and he needs site plan to do it. And once those two things happen, he'll come back for your approval.
Okay,
And this is within our purview as a HPB?
What, the pergola?
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, I couldn't find anything.
It's a
yeah, I
structure.
know.
I couldn't find anything in it, so then when I was doing research, I kind of thought that this might only be a zoning.
No,
as
Well,
well.
it is zoning, that's part of it.
Any structure that's being changed, built
Added, okay.
in the village.
I just had to put that out there if we're doing information only, as a little bit of information only.
And it
I was like, is this really within, it's not a porch, it's not a deck, but it wasn't in our,
If you take a look at the code in definitions, you'll find structure, Ginny, it's a structure or a building, which one?
Structure, maybe.
This is-
I can't remember off the top of my
So
head.
look at structure and building,
okay,
it'll fall into one of those categories. And then if you look at the jurisdictional piece, you'll see that it's tied, our obligation to review them is tied to a structure or building.
okay. Very
From a
good.
design perspective, I think you would apply a lot of the same thought of like a fence,
Yeah, it's not that much different from a fence.
like an arbor on
Or
a
a deck or something like that.
And I brought it here first because
Yep.
I assumed because of the windows, I should probably start here. And then I was, I have to start back here.
No, hold on, no, this is a great place to start.
Okay.
It's the perfect place to start.
Yeah, because you should do it at the beginning of the process, because if you go through the trustees and the PZBA, and they both say yes, and this board thinks it's inappropriate,
You really need to know that.
Right.
you know,
And I want to be mindful of everybody's time. I mean, I don't want to, so I appreciate that.
no, this is what this board is here for.
Okay.
So you've got a patio area with picnic tables now?
That's correct.
Something I'm
About
just
10 picnic tables.
You've never been out back at the men's club?
Well, whoa, whoa. Let's back up from the. Let's back up from the.
No experience.
So it's 8'8", and I'm assuming the fence meets the 6-foot requirement, so we're gonna be able to
The
see it.
fence is already up, is it not?
Yes.
I was
Just-
only
just
how
trying to
high,
get
I wanted to know what the
Yeah.
differential
Context
was.
there.
Yeah. Oh, over here, though, it's higher. Oh, no, that's the width.
for me, I think I'd love the concept. It just really comes more down to the details of like the design elements on like the ends of I don't know what the appropriate names for them are, but like the lens
Runners.
slats, yeah, the runners. But, you know, those little details probably are more
Okay.
important to me than the structure itself.
Okay. And I'll say that I don't know that it's going to be an L like it is in there, or it's just going to be a straight run of one of the sides. I figured I'd add an L just,
In my
For
opinion,
conversation.
it's less important than the details.
okay, okay.
I have to say, I like this idea.
Okay.
One of my, used to go up to the Adirondacks, and there was a great Mexican restaurant in Saranac Lake that had a fake adobe wall. I mean, it was of course concrete block,
Shocker.
but the outside, Casa del Sol?
Yeah, across from the tops-ish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
new, I think it's new
New
owners.
owners, yeah.
And plus they put it had a pergola cover like this, and they had canvas draped between it, so you get spotted sun, you didn't
Sure.
have to be out in the direct sun. It was-
Right.
Then they put a cover on it, they put a canvas cover on it, it was never the same.
Along with architectural advice, we give travel tips.
Well, duly noted.
Yeah, the use with
No, I'm
the
just
heaters
saying,
to
it's a
increase your
real-
space, I think that's
It's a real,
fantastic.
Yeah,
Now, how many of those you think you're gonna need out there?
I mean,
Just the heaters?
I don't know.
Kind of
Because I mean, some are, there's different types of heaters and sizes and, what are you mindful of cost and, what it really covers when it projects its heat. So
Have you been to the top tracer at Big Oak?
I'm not.
They have some pretty chunky industrial ones, and if you want to go on a night like tonight, you kind of get a gauge for how well they work.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. So, looks good.
Thank you.
So what should we advise them to bring back when he presents this? What sort of detail are we looking for?
it's more detailed, a closer view. I'm
Are we okay with the
looking
height?
for a drawing that's less like this, an elevation drawing. And whoever is drawing this for you should know what that is.
Yes,
Because this is more the type of thing, but without the perspective.
right.
Elevations are just a straight on view.
Okay. And I think for the process I have to go through,
you go to the trustees first.
yes,
So for them, they'll need,
a site.
probably what you have here is fine. They really don't have any approval over what it looks like, or whether or not it fits on the site, because that'll be site plan approval.
Okay,
So they just need to approve the concept
okay,
of, so now that you've applied for a special permit, part of that special permit will be the deck, everything that you want to do on the site.
okay,
Pergola, blah, blah, blah.
okay,
And if there's any other outside seating or anything else that's going on out there,
incorporate that.
you incorporate all of that into the special permit.
Okay, okay,
And once they bless that, then you can go whatever board you need to go to get the details ironed out.
okay.
So that's site plan and this board.
Okay, because obviously,
Yeah,
one second,
go ahead.
I have to engage an architect for those details. So I just want to make sure I'm on the right track before I've
Right,
had
you get the
conversations.
use approved, and then you get the site plan approved
Okay.
and our design
You
approved.
know, I mean,
Some of the-
you're kind of safe in getting the architect going now so you can hit the ground running,
Right.
because this board has given you, you're gonna need somebody to put a site together for you
Right.
for site plan approval. So you could kind of run this all concurrently. Your timeframe is, when's the tournament coming?
May.
You're pretty tight timeframe, so I would get this.
Call us tomorrow, please.
I would get this
Why would we
going.
thought about that?
No.
I would get this going concurrently.
Right.
You get your application in to the trustees, I don't know if you have it in yet.
Yes.
You get your application together for site plan, and once the special permit is approved, the site plan can be approved. So look at the schedule of meetings, because both of those have to have a public hearing.
Right.
Which will extend the time frame. It'll be May before you know it, we hope. But you don't have a lot of time.
Right. And if ideally, I don't want to miss the time frame, but if I do, it's, again.
What I'm saying is, I haven't sat down with the calendar. I think if you get going now, you will not miss the time frame.
Yes, okay.
You have to get going, kind of quick.
Okay.
And on our end, I would just say it's like the definitiveness of your ends, but then also probably the spacing of your runners.
So,
I'm not saying that I have a preference on them, just that's probably what we're going to need as a definitiveness.
okay,
Because, I mean, pergola is as traditional as it comes. There's not really much variance in what you do with it.
okay. Are there any examples that you would point me to or suggest?
I was gonna look something up and maybe send them to you, or
That'd be great.
see what we can find and send to them.
Like I-
What about, Virginia, do you have anything in your books?
I might,
Or
but
resources
I
we have
used to
here?
have, I used to have something very similar to this over the porches in my house. And the spots where the frost pieces were let into the siding are still there, because when my husband wins the mega lotto, then we'll do that to the house. But I can measure those. I think it's about 24 inches on center. And ours were, it was a craftsman style, so that the ends, the finished ends on mine were very plain and simple. And I don't think that's, I don't have a real opinion about the ends on this. You could have almost anything you want to have. But I'll get out there with a tape. It's very easy for me to tell you what the spacing is. I'm thinking 18 to 24 inches, but
Yeah, you don't want it like too dense, because then it just is kind of.
Yeah, then it
No,
gets
that's not what I want.
too cloudy.
Really, I mean, I've seen some situations where it's more like posts and less of the,
And I guess I would say, are you planning to put lighting on this pergola at all? Because that's another thing that you would need to.
There was the heat lamp.
Well, so, and this is a part of the conversation of, yes, lighting, is that a conversation with you guys? And then
Yeah,
heat,
Lighting is depending on,
Permanent or?
depending on how bright they are. You got to go to Steve to find out if you need a permit, but you will definitely have to come to this board for the fixtures.
okay,
now, also on this heaters, you're going to have no overhead cables. This is going to be an underground cable and conduit up to where the fixtures are and a junction box there. So, talk to an electrician about that. And, when they design it, have it in such a way that it's on the interior of these posts and not necessarily visible as you walk out, just a nice touch. But it's going to take a lot of juice. I mean, a couple of those out there will, they're going to have to put a good cable in there for you.
so,
So those the board will also need to approve if they're visible.
right, okay, so we have conduit that runs kind of on the exterior of the fence. We have some conduit that actually runs some power to the dumpster corral. Are you saying the power run to this structure need to be underground for?
Well, you don't want to have anybody trip over it, or you
No,
like a pipe going over, carrying from the fence over this,
Okay, so I guess,
that's not good.
in hearing that, I wouldn't need to bury it you know,
These
all
guys can do
along,
that,
just one section, that then it would crawl up the exterior.
Yeah.
On the
On the interior of the.
exterior.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
That's mine. There we go.
Just we don't want any ambiguous details is all.
Yeah, oh, yeah. As far as lights, it wouldn't be, it'd be more like,
Bistro strings.
yeah, but low voltage. It's not to,
Yeah, you gotta check with Steve what the
Yeah.
limits are.
okay,
He'll guide you, do it
And it just needs to.
sooner rather than later.
okay.
Yeah, but it's an
That's a
interesting
different
look
application.
to have that out there, yeah.
So that goes to the planning board.
Yes,
So
They're informed.
even though they're one name, they're two boards. So it's a different application, which means probably requires another public hearing.
okay,
So we want to make sure you get this thing going.
yes, okay.
So we can schedule it.
Anything
Simple
else?
concept.
I think that's it, I appreciate it.
I like it.
Thank you.
Yep,
Thank you.
nice.
We good?
I think he'll let you know that our meeting was canceled in February for planning and zoning, so the next one is March 1st.
Yes.
So as long as you get your stuff in, we can put all the public hearings on and everything.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, and that's the site plan I come up with there.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, Steve is out this week, but he will be back on Monday next week, and then we can get everything sorted out.
Okay. All right.
Great,
Great,
thank you.
thank you, have a nice evening.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, the last, one of the last items of business is to look at our meeting minutes from December 19th.
I have a correction. Page 2, 41 Monroe, the information only. The individual who came with the resident, Mr. Held, is an architect, not a contractor.
Yep, thank you. I actually did that in the PZB minutes too, thank you.
And
Otherwise, I have no,
my comment on 31 Boughton is the last long line here. It's style, sizes, the back room, and material, styles, and sizes of what? Windows? What should be there? Sizes of, are going to be used for the rear? I don't know, I'm not sure what that referred to, but
Well, it was everything about the stoop.
yeah,
Size of the steps.
the step, that may have. All right. Okay. Any other suggestions on that?
Thanks as always for doing them.
Okay,
Yes.
all right,
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes with the
two
changes, the
yeah.
two changes that were acknowledged by my board members.
I second that.
Okay, member Searles,
yes.
member Evans,
Yes.
member Olson,
Yes.
member Dubrowski,
Yes.
Chair Power,
Yes,
motion passes.
okay. And before we closed, you had something to add about time at the end of the meeting for people that wanted to come in. If we had a light agenda, I can cover that if you want.
Well, no, it was more Mayor Plummer, instead of somebody adding something to the agenda and having it posted online if they don't meet the deadline. Having, if the agenda is not packed, like if there's 5 or less,
Yeah.
or you guys pick a number, then after all the applicants are seen, then we have, if no one's here, then we're done.
Yeah.
If there's people here and they have questions, then we have a time frame, whether we want to say 20 minutes and that's it, as opposed to having people come in and talk for 45 minutes, because, you know.
Kind of like what happened
Are
last
these
week.
people that want to come in for information only? Who are these people who might come in and want to chat?
Like
Like
that.
last time.
Like last
Information
time.
only.
Yeah.
Well, that's information.
They're not asking for approval,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
Correct.
That's how-
Information only, as I recall, and on most boards that I professionally appeared before, were part of the agenda.
but these are people that came in maybe after the agenda's been set,
Kristen,
is
do
that
you
your
have, for
point?
instance?
Just kind of like how the last meeting,
Yes, meeting.
they came in, you know, some people had plans after, maybe they had to pick up their children, they thought it was gonna be a light agenda, it ended up being 45 minutes of,
Mhm.
Unexpected.
correct,
Information only. So it's almost as if giving,
a time cut. So if, if someone came in tonight, so it's going to be posted that way. The mayor said she was going to mention this to you or something along those lines. I had thought she would have mentioned it to Jeff too. Just basically like adding an information-only workshop to the end of our agenda if it's a light agenda.
So that it decide how light it is. It could be two applications that are very involved and take a long time. So I think, and also because I think it's very important to encourage people to come here before they start work for information only. So I would rather have people come in and talk to Steve and get on the list for information only. The other thing is to expect that there's going to be, we can come in at 5:30 and be out of here by 7 o'clock, whatever. I don't think that's fair to the applicants. Maybe.
Well, that's only if there's time. That's a rare situation, because usually we have a full agenda.
Well, I'm only concerned that how long we spend here on any given night should be however long it takes to do the work. Not, oh, geez, we have to stay for an hour and a half. That's,
Well,
I
then
don't
again,
think that's fair to the residents.
Then if nobody's too worried about, getting out of here quick, but for a night like tonight, if the chair decides that this is a very light agenda, we have a fence, a window replacement, and information only. This was going to be light. And Virginia makes a good point that if this is going to be a light agenda like this, maybe there can be something where the mayor reaches out to the chair and says, do you expect there to be enough time on something like this for an information only section? Put it on there. But if you say, listen, it looks small, but these are two huge cases.
Yeah, you don't know.
We don't know that. So I'm fine with adding time at the end of it for
I'm
information
also
only.
concerned about being arbitrary and capricious. Who's going to decide how much time, how much?
That's what-
Which is why I thought there was
We just set a time of 10 or 15 minutes. That's it. Just say,
Virginia.
I still think that's being arbitrary and capricious, because who's going to decide?
So Virginia, if we as a board would like to have the villagers come in for more information-only meetings,
Yes.
how do you think that would be the best way to go about scheduling that on a monthly basis?
I think they need to come in before, now, I know there's a deadline for the applications, and then there's a different time frame for when the agenda goes up. But I think, I don't have a good handle on that. I just know that in order to be fair for everyone, there has to be a rule that makes sense, and every single person who comes before the board, whether it's for information or a regular application, everybody is treated exactly the same.
Yep.
And I think to say, well, it's a light agenda, if these guys want to come in, let's have them come in. And then, 2 months later, somebody else wants to come in, and we don't take them. So how do they feel? How do they know?
Well, which I think we've already done, actually, is we told 75 Monroe, for example, that they had to schedule and we had to put them on the schedule. And then last week, we just had someone show up who missed the agenda deadline. So I agree with you, it should not be capricious at all. And so if the rule is information only still has to meet the agenda deadline, okay, as long as everybody's following the same rules, that would be my takeaway.
5 days or 5 days after the agenda deadline. I mean, it's okay with me if they come in. If the agenda doesn't come out to us for a week, okay, give them that week and for information only. But whatever the rule is, and I think we can decide what the rule is.
I agree.
Because we're the board. We can decide what the rule is, but it needs to be a rule.
What's the rule right now on setting the agenda length?
if they're not here,
There's
not on the
there's not-
agenda, we don't talk to them.
So we could have 30 of these hypothetically?
Sure.
And so are you making decisions on who to include and who not to include? So is there situations?
In that situation, we might, when Steve sees it piling up, we had 30, we're not going to be able to do 30 applications. So we probably have to do two meetings maybe.
Okay.
So
that's good to know.
That's kind of my point, is like, if we want more information only, people coming in, are you going to bump an information only person to a second or the next meeting if somebody already has an application submitted? So I think it's appropriate to maybe just carve out like a dedicated 20 minutes for information only. For every meeting, if somebody comes in, great, if
Come,
somebody
first
doesn't,
served. If somebody comes
Come in
in,
with no notice?
yeah, just a standing, open availability for information.
Kind of like the
If
public
that's-
comment section of a,
If that's what the rule is, that's fine with me. I'm okay with it, but it has to be a rule,
Mhm.
and it has to be followed every
and then I
single
think there
time.
has to be a limit even within that rule, then how long you get to have
So-
this, right? So if it's just an open
Each
information.
case, right?
Yeah.
One
Each
case
case
can't
gets
take
the
up,
whole
yeah.
No more than 10 minutes?
yeah,
Just based on my experience, actually, let me stop there. Refresh my recollection. What happened last meeting that person wasn't known about, just walked in the night of, or was there notice? Do we know about this person before the meeting?
Steve knew and told them to just come in. I don't know that any of the board members knew.
No.
When did they, do you know the time frame when they came in to see Steve?
I know that the whole process was just one confusion, and they thought that the PZBA application that they handed in was HPB, and it was just, they still don't have their HPB application in, so.
The way they presented it to us is that they weren't going to because they didn't really have a direction yet.
yeah, that's fine, but
Well, I'll just say again, every time, and as a professional, we routinely would go in for information only to preservation boards, and we always had to meet the agenda deadline. But I don't think we need to do that. I think like 20 minutes at the end of the meeting, maximum 10 minutes, people have to sign up with Kristen the day of, or call in the day of, or, whatever.
The order that they arrive, I think they actually have to be in the building, they don't get to hold the space.
I think people tend to plan things like that, so they could certainly call you, couldn't they?
But it still wouldn't
They would
be
be billing
published, and
Steve,
that's
though.
still.
That's
For
what,
Steve, yeah.
I mean, is it being posted, is it being added to the agenda? Because if that's the case, then
Is it part of the?
I think it's very
What I would
welcoming knowing that there is a
suggest-
dedicated time
What
that
I
people
would
can pop
suggest is
in.
that we have a
That's what
tentative
we're trying to get
agenda,
at here.
that then have a information only.
Kristen,
Hold on. I've been thinking about this while we've been all talking about it. Jimmy raises a good point. If we're actually talking about a piece of property, something in the village, probably the public ought to have notice of that. So I think there's got to be a hard deadline somewhere. It doesn't have to be the same deadline as the application deadline, but it's got to be a deadline. I mean, for instance, the trustees will add agenda items, up to 2 or 3 days before. So that could be the deal. You say 2 days. You can,
After that's a cutoff and nothing
our
more.
official applications are due on blank. For information only applications are due on blank.
but doesn't the question I asked you was, if the information only discussions are part of the public meeting, this is a public meeting, not a public hearing. Public hearing, you have to allow comment from the audience. This is a public hearing, but if that information only is part of our public meeting, then it needs to be published.
That's right, that's what I said, 2 days.
Yeah, there needs to be some sort of deadline.
Well, isn't there like a supplementary publication? Because our meetings have to be posted, the agendas for our meetings have to be posted, a week, 10 days online and out there?
No, I mean, they don't have to be, they have to be posted 3 days.
Okay, well, then it ought to be 3 days. Information
Yeah, 3
only
days,
needs to be 3
information
days so that
only.
it can be published.
Separate deadline.
As part of
That's the
our,
rule. It could be the rule.
we can say 20 minutes at the end of a meeting.
Right.
Anybody interested has to notify the village no less than 3 days in advance of the meeting so that they're
Right.
published according to the meeting law of New York State, yada, yada.
And if somebody else comes in and says, gee, I want to jump on that, you can say, we're already full. We have a full agenda.
Well,
You can disseminate that.
No,
Or you just make the deadline.
Page.
We're not-
You didn't make the deadline.
we're not, right, it's not that we have a full agenda. It's that you didn't make the deadline.
Yeah.
Dan, you had a question for 10 minutes down there.
Well, yeah, one thing I like to point out is that there's the application fee, and that kind of makes it, at $50, that's not just, $10.
Oh, they don't pay an application fee?
No, let me get to my point. What I'm saying is, there's a lot of people in this village, including myself, that want things done, that if this information only was kind of like free willy, I'd come in here right now and ask what you guys think about my fence, which I have no need to replace it. So we have to make sure that there is something that we hold them accountable to come to this board with real items that they want to do, that they're invested in doing. That's what this $50 helps with.
But if they,
So the information only, I want to make sure that we have something in place that doesn't let it get out of hand, where if there's nothing there, I'm going to walk you guys through my
I think the
fence.
opposite's true,
And
though.
now we have to start talking about my fence that I have no interest in actually doing.
Yeah.
So my pushback on that is that not only are we a regulatory board or an information board, we're an education board.
that's right.
Yep.
So if people want to come in to be educated, we ought to get down our hands and knees and say,
That's-
thank God.
Absolutely,
Yep.
absolutely. If they
So-
want to come in and know something about their house, and if they want to know how to find something
happy to
out,
do it.
what color paint should they use?
I'm
Happy
just
to
putting
do it.
this out there, that the only reason I was saying that is because I'm using that as an example why we have to have a fixed period of time to
10
get set for it
Yep.
and to be open for this information-only section.
10 minutes of,
Exactly.
10
So
minutes
that's the
of,
only reason I was saying
resume.
that.
Well,
That it can't just be like, all right, we're going to be here for 3 hours talking to people.
Nah.
Yeah. Even if that's what they want, that's fine.
It will not happen. People, if we have a 3-day information only cutoff so that it makes the agenda, so everybody knows what's going on, you will look at the agenda and say, oh, they want to come in and talk about X. Then the board knows they want to come and talk about X. It's not a surprise. The public out there looking at the agenda online that knows they're going to talk about X. And Chair Rowe, Ken, we had a question for what?
well, just to clarify, because it still sounds like we're combining two ideas, and I just want to make sure what I'm hearing is that we all agree in theory that there should be a deadline so that we can publish the agenda. That, to me, means that we are not putting an information-only workshop section in addition to that also on our agenda, where there's willy-nilly 10 minutes. So I just wanted to be clear, we are, as a board, saying, no, we're not adding that section. We are, in fact, enforcing the deadline, and that deadline is going to be,
Information only, and that gets
3
added
days.
down here.
Or you don't have to do one or the other. There could be, thing that Dan is talking about. I'm not sure I like that. I'm not going to do anything. I'd like to come in and get educated. It's not a specific proposal. That could be 20 minutes at the end of the meeting, a free-for-all. Like the trustees do a public comment section. This could be a public question section. And you could do both. People who have a specific project, who don't get here in time, just want to ask questions, will go in for information only. The other segment of the population who wants to learn about the village, wants to learn about something as general questions, come in at the end of the meeting. We're going to have a 20-minute public question and answer session. Not about
well, but
answering.
I personally don't feel comfortable saying that section is 20 minutes. I feel comfortable saying that each person that comes in with questions gets a certain amount of time that they can choose to use
And I would
all
say-
of or not.
I would say it's 5 minutes. I want to do it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Should be able to convey your issue in that amount of time.
Well, it may take longer than that to describe it and for us to understand what they have nebulous thoughts in their mind, but certainly it shouldn't go on for an hour and a half.
Right.
I mean, I think there should be a reasonable amount of extra time that we can agree to, and a specific amount of time for any given applicant.
Yep.
So two timeframes. How long past the close of the meeting are we going to continue?
I think if people come in and don't have a specific project in mind, and then have a question, then there's not so much of an understanding learning curve that's answer the question. So I think you'd feel, I mean, I would think you'd feel comfortable cutting it off at 5 minutes, but
I think for some of us, we may not know exactly the building they're talking about. We might want to open the computer and pull up the blue form sheets and, oh, this is the building we're looking at. Oh, this is the work you want to do. I think 5 minutes is not enough.
And I think they need to be on the agenda. If it's
Yeah,
a
something like
generalized
that.
question, like, how,
Like me with my fence, like I'm like,
Exactly.
how do I go about this? That would be more of a 5 minute,
Right, but
it
if
wouldn't
it's-
have to be on the agenda, but if it's something where it's, there's two, like Jeff
Two
Turner said,
levels.
there's two different situations here, but I like both.
it's up to the board. It's not up,
Yeah.
not up to me, but just thinking about, I mean, I don't think you would have many people coming in for that public question period.
No, but having the ability to, I mean,
But
it just sometimes feels so big. You're like, well, I got to go do all this. I don't even want to bother because I don't even know where to start. Like, you lower that bar and it.
And I think this board has a bad reputation, and I think part of it is because people don't come here for information only.
First.
I think that should be really encouraged, and the more flexible and the more open the board is and available to the community for just this sort of thing, or maybe have like a once a month Saturday morning, what's your question?
Yeah.
That could be a general free-for-all.
So I think what you can do, Kristen, is to think about, a question on 3 days, information only. We can try this out, whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I think we need to be a little flexible on it and see how it works.
well, it's not for Kristen to decide, it's for us to
No,
decide.
I'm
Or
just saying,
us, right?
let's
Like
put some of
that's-
this down, and maybe we ought to think about it and react to it,
I don't
refine
think
it.
this is excuse me for interrupting.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think this is not a tonight decision.
Right, exactly.
But I think it's a good concept. I like the fact that we're controlling, from Steve's viewpoint,
Yeah.
for information only. And he can also then say to them, just come in and talk to the board at the,
At the end of the meeting during.
And here's how you do that.
yeah.
I think
But-
it's,
Go ahead.
I think it's better for residents to get information from us
Yeah, like
than
I
from
said.
Steve.
But I don't think they're getting that now. They're getting it from their neighbor that recently had something done, and they're like, oh, you got to do this and that and 10 other things.
Right, well,
and-
I also think that Steve has his own opinions, which don't necessarily
Right.
equate to us.
So does this require a vote? I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I think it's going to be a rule of the board.
Does it have to be put forward and then tabled so that we can all think about it? Or could we, I'm just not sure why we would push it to another agenda and then push it to another agenda. I think it would, in my opinion, I'd rather we've kind of reached a consensus. Let's try it. And then if we need to amend it, we amend
And
it.
then fine tune it if need be.
So I guess to kind of, so what we're proposing is a dedicated for information only time slot at the end of our meetings afforded to members with or members of the public for 5 minutes. And there's
10 minutes.
5 to 10 minutes with a deadline of 3 days before the meeting.
Right.
No.
No,
No?
to get officially on the agenda,
It was
you
pretty
have to
close. You
be,
were
you're
pretty
so close.
Yeah, you were close, yeah.
Can I lay out what I?
Yeah, we're just trying to.
So we have formal applications, which have to be made by the deadline.
Right.
We have informal information only applications, which have to be on the agenda 3 days before. And then we have a general, I wouldn't call it for information only, it's a general question and answer period at the end of each meeting for residents interested in the process or any other general information they may want about this board and what we do and what we think should happen and things.
More of an educational.
Yeah.
Does 3 days work for you, Kristen, in terms of getting information only on the published agenda?
Not really, but
So what would
Yeah,
work for you? That's why I'm asking before we go
I'll be
forward.
sending out one agenda probably, just for the
Yeah.
simple fact that I have another board and I have all these additional responsibilities that I keep getting every single day. So I'll do my best, I'll make it work. But-
Yeah. All right.
So usually the application deadline date is a Monday.
Yeah.
And then Steve has a week to contact people if the application is missing something.
Yeah.
And then the agenda comes out to you guys that Monday. So if we're doing it 3 days before that, then it would probably be the
Then I guess,
Wednesday.
so I don't, can
Tuesday or
I,
Wednesday
so why,
before.
I don't think that, if it's still for information only and they're putting in an application, I think for the sake of consistency and user friendliness, it should be the deadline is the deadline if you're going on the formal agenda. And if you missed that, then you're allowed to ask some questions, but you're not going to get the same level of whatever, because we are teaching them about the process and we want the process followed. So that's why I was asking that question of clarity. So in my opinion, I think there should be a hard and fast deadline to get on the agenda, information only, or your application.
So you're still offering them that, but that's, yeah.
Also to that point, if it is information only, it's not like they're trying to get this in before the
Exactly.
PGA tournaments.
Yep.
Right. Right, they're meeting to get it. They could wait one more month to get on the agenda if they
Exactly.
miss it.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's the whole purpose of education, right? There's a
Right.
process you have to follow, and we want to be open and available to the public.
And we can make sure that we tell them exactly what we want from them, so they don't have to come back for the third meeting.
So really, the only things that we're changing now is we're adding this educational time
Yes.
slot. There's not that 3-day deadline.
Right.
And we're
We're not gonna
enforcing
propose that.
the
We're
idea that you have to meet the
The
agenda.
normal agenda deadline, just so it's easier on you getting your work done for us. Then we'll add in information only at the end,
Yep.
if there is one. If there
We need to
is,
start calling that question and answer.
no, but that wasn't on that question
Does
answer. I'm
does
saying-
this agenda go out on the website? Is it posted on the web?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well then there you go.
I'm totally lost in the difference between meeting the agenda deadline and just coming in.
You want to explain or you want me to?
Go for it.
So we originally had planned for the 3-day prior to our meeting, information only section. Or information only cases to be added to the agenda. But we're not going to do that with a 3 days before. We're going to, if someone wants to come in with an information only section or a case, we're going to make that meet
Yes,
the
the
original
deadline.
deadline.
Yeah.
Of our meeting.
Simple as that.
And then all we're really proposing here at the end of this entire conversation is that we're having an educational period.
Open conversation, and does that need to be published?
No, it just goes on the agenda under member
What's
items.
happening?
Okay,
This is a standing Q&A session.
okay. All right, I got it.
And we enforce the deadline.
Yep.
We don't get to.
Is there a separate information-only application, or does that need to be established?
No, just make it
They just
simple.
need to put their name on the list.
Yeah.
Can I ask that we,
Well, hold on. It's not for information only, okay? Because if for information only can go on the agenda if they make the application deadline. Okay, so it's not for information only, it's question and answer.
Yes.
Right.
Education.
Big distinction.
Right, I was talking about like an actual
Yeah.
agenda item getting submitted. I didn't know if we needed a
Oh.
separate.
No,
Yeah.
no, I mean, they would just do the regular application
Okay, yeah.
and not pay a fee.
So then after after the tentative agenda, before member items, there will just be an area that says
Questions,
general question and
Questions, yep.
answer.
Community question and answer
community
session.
questions, yeah.
Okay, and then do you want me to put like 5-10 minutes per person on there or not put that?
I think we need to tell them what the policy is.
Yeah, please, we will, allow, 5 to 10 minutes for
Let's,
your time slot, or you could,
we could let it go and see how it develops.
yeah.
I mean, if we're having a
Yeah.
house full,
We can certainly announce that up front as an expectation, we,
Okay,
Yeah.
and then see how it goes, and
Yeah.
I can always post something online. We're
Right.
now doing this, and this is what the expectation is.
I mean, for me, we're trying to get people in here. 5 minutes sounds chilling.
Yeah.
I would just, we're not gonna get
5 to
that.
10.
Yeah, we're not gonna get,
Well, just in having it, something that we can like promote, like you could go on
Right,
the
it
village
changes
Facebook page and say, hey,
that,
did you know that you can stop in on this question and answer?
I think it's important for the board to have a greater presence in the village and to have a more positive presence in the village. And one of the ways to do
Right.
that is to be open to interaction.
Yep. Good.
I mean, you could, if you were at the end of a 3-hour meeting, say, look, we know we've got the question and answer period, it's been a long meeting, we're gonna try to keep it as brief as we
Should
can.
sponsor
Yeah.
that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
May is
Okay.
Preservation Month.
Also, if people want to come to the question and answer section and they see the published agenda, that's 10 to 15 items, they know that they're at the end of that. They
Right.
wouldn't show up at 5:30 and wait through all of that, just to have 5-10 minutes, ask us about something, so they'll,
It'll be self,
it'll be regulated, exactly. On lighter meetings, you'll probably see more because they won't have to wait as long on it.
Exactly. Makes sense.
I would be happy if we see anyone, frankly. That would be great.
Anything
Just
else?
on the
Do we need
22
to make a
so,
motion?
We're trying.
Or not?
I think we're just going with the same process, and
Yeah.
we're adding.
No, I think it's fine to add a motion that we'll add a.
So I'd like to make a motion that we are going to add a public question and answer segment to our monthly agendas that
Going forward?
going forward, that comes after the tentative agenda section and before the member items section.
Could I add to that, if necessary, that information-only applications need to meet the application deadline and make sure that Steve is aware
Good point.
of that?
Good
Because that's
point.
how,
And we did
Two
just have,
separate.
yeah, but we just had so much conversation on that,
Just good to
it's good
clarify.
to clarify. Yeah.
well, because it's not what happened last month.
Right.
You know, we have a standing process that,
Yeah,
like,
just so.
they should have come to this.
So,
Yeah, as
yeah, well,
information.
just so Steve knows what the board is prepared for.
Yeah.
The board makes the decision on how it's gonna go. And it should go the same way for every single individual.
Second?
second motion. Second.
Member Searle?
Yes.
Member Evans?
Yes.
Member Olson?
Yes.
Member Dubrowski?
Aye.
Chair Pollak?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay.
Years ago.
Are we able to get that publicized on the village Facebook page? How can we get that information out? Because that's the kind of possible,
Oh, yeah.
positive
They can
publicity.
do it.
Can it just be done, or do we need to authorize it in
No,
some way?
no, it can get done. We do
Did you know?
The chair could ask the clerk to make sure that all got done.
Yeah, I can do it on the website and I can do it on Facebook.
Now, we have a motion to close the meeting?
Motion closed?
You gotta hurry up, I'm fading fast.
Sorry?
I said we need to hurry up, I'm fading fast.
Member Searle?
Yes.
Member Evans?
Yes.
Member Olson?
Yes.
Member Dubrowski?
Yes.
Chair Pollak?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you all.